Hey guys, Mr. Hein here, and today we're talking about the periodic table. So as you go through this video, make sure that you are filling out your periodic table of elements graphic organizer. And you'll probably also want to have your periodic table of elements right here on the screen if you've gotten one of those from your teacher already. All right, let's begin. Alright, let's start by answering this question first. What is it? What is this periodic table thing? Well, all it is a handy little chart that organizes the elements, so all the elements we know and all the elements that we predict to exist, by the number of protons. It's fairly easy to read once you know all the different parts, so let's take a look at those really quick. We'll look at this guy first. This thing here is called our chemical symbol, and that is just a nice short way that we can represent our element that we're looking at. In this case it's copper, and the symbol is Cu. Alright, and right under that we have the name of our element. And then we have two numbers that we're interested in, so we'll look at this one on top first. That is what we call our atomic number. The atomic number tells us the number of protons in an atom of this element, so copper has 29 protons in each atom. And actually, in normal circumstances, the number of protons will also be equal to the number of electrons in an atom. That won't always be true, but for now, we will say that protons are equal to electrons. And finally, at the bottom here, we have what is called our atomic mass. That is a combination of our protons and our neutrons. So it's the number of protons plus our number of neutrons. And so we can actually use this number along with our atomic number to find out how many neutrons we have in an atom. All you have to do is, I'm going to write N for neutrons. Take your atomic mass, and subtract your atomic number, because that's the number of protons. So if you do that, you'll be left with the number of neutrons. So with just those two numbers, you can find out how many protons, how many neutrons, and how many electrons are in an atom of any element using your periodic table. So let's talk about chemical symbols a little more. With our chemical symbols, remember they are symbols used to represent the elements. And so go ahead and write these notes in the bullet points under chemical symbols. Chemical symbols always will have either 1, 2, or 3 letters. And when you're writing symbols, you want to make sure that the first letter is always capitalized. Any letter after that is going to be written with a lowercase letter. So for example, the chemical symbol for helium is He, and so I'm going to capitalize the H because it's my first letter and keep the E as a lowercase, and that would be my symbol for helium. Go ahead and pause the video here and try out the examples for chemical symbols. Use your periodic table to find the symbols for each of those 4 elements that have been listed for you. Alright, so now that you've tried that out, I'll go ahead and show you the answers. So nitrogen, you should have found the symbol is a capital N. For calcium, we will say capital C, lowercase a. Magnesium is a capital M with a lowercase g. And carbon is just a capital C. Next, I want to take a look at chemical formulas. Chemical formulas are symbols that we've put together to represent compounds. Remember, a compound is when 2 or more elements have been chemically combined. So this is a way we can represent those. One example that you may know of already is the chemical formula for water, which is H2O, written like this. That little 2 here is what we call a subscript, and that tells us that we have 2 atoms of the element in front of it. So these subscripts always go with the symbol in front of it, and in this case it's saying that we have 2 hydrogens. Now the O has no subscript, so that means we just have 1 of those. So all together in water we have 2 hydrogens and 1 oxygen. And go ahead and make sure that you've written these bullets under the box for chemical formulas. Once you've done that, go ahead and try out the examples to the right. Figure out how many atoms of each element you have in those 3 compounds. Alright, so let's check if you got those answers correct. In water, as we said in the example, we know that we have 2 hydrogens and 1 oxygen. Our next compound is salt, which is sodium chloride. We don't see any subscripts, so that means we just have 1 of each of these. There is 1 sodium, Na is sodium, and we have 1 atom of chlorine. Our third one was a little more complex. We have 3 elements in this case, carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Again, check your subscripts. We have 6 carbons. We have 12 hydrogens, and we have 6 atoms of oxygen. Alright, now go ahead and try out the problems at the bottom. In the first one, you're going to name the elements in those compounds that were written down. And in the second part, you have to figure out how many atoms of each element are present in the compounds. Pause the video here, try those out, and then continue on to find out the answers. Okie dokie, so here is the first question. We had to name the elements in these compounds. And so our first one here, H2SO4. So we have 2, remember subscript goes with the element in front of it, H's, and H is hydrogen. So we have 2 hydrogen atoms. We do not have a subscript on the S, so that again means 1. We have 1 that is a sulfur atom. then we have 4 atoms of oxygen. O is for oxygen. The next one, we're looking at NaHCO3. That first one is sodium. We have 1 of those. The second one has no subscript either, so we have 1 hydrogen atom. Followed by 1 atom of carbon. And finally, at the end there, we have 3 atoms of oxygen. All right, and for the last problems, we had to count how many atoms of each element are present in the following compounds. So we start off with this guy over here. First, we have to figure out how many atoms of hydrogen there are. Now, careful, hydrogen is in 2 spots for this compound, so we have 1 hydrogen atom here and 3 hydrogen atoms here. That's a total of 4 atoms of hydrogen. Next, we're looking for carbon. Carbon is C, so we have 2 atoms there. And finally, we have to find oxygen, and there are 2 oxygen atoms in this compound. In the second one, we first have to find calcium. The symbol for calcium is Ca, so we have 1 atom there. Then we have to find our carbon atoms. There is 1 carbon atom there. And the last thing we have to do is figure out how many oxygen atoms we have. And right there we have 3 atoms. All right, hopefully that was mostly painless. You should have your full sheet filled out now. If you have any questions about anything, let your teacher know, and they will be happy to help you out. For my class, I've also posted a couple videos to Google Classroom about the periodic table, so make sure you check those out as well once you've finished this sheet. All right, guys, have a good one.